From an undisclosed locations for reasons of security, we present to you MnRTV live show, and tonight our special guests will be physicist, scientist, Cynthia Sue Larson, talking about parallel universes and the multiverse. Could it be that we are just a speck in the multiverse, just one little tiny universe amongst zillions of universes? And could we actually go into different universes, and are there copies of us? I know this sounds out of it. This makes something like the New World Order like wow, you know. But before any further ado, let me introduce to you from Montreal, the one and the only, the biggest coffee drinker in Montreal himself, the madman Mario.
Yes, Robert. Yes, Robert. Aren't we ever glad we made it back? Nobody assassinated us yet, or me, especially me, because I'm a wanted man. Nobody likes me, but it's okay. You don't have to like me, because what comes out of this mouth and out of here is what counts the most, right?
Yes, that's right. But assassinated, I don't know. I mean, you've gotten death threats, and so have I through the phone, you through the computer. But anyhow, we cannot wander onto this, because, you know, if we get killed here, perhaps in another universe there's another MnRTV, you know, and it's doing a show just like us.
And you know what? We get to live on and on and on.
Exactly.
We never die, right?
But this exactly. But this will be later on, you know, at 8:15 when we get scientist, physicist, Cynthia Sue Larson. But without further ado, this has been brought to you by the MnRTV. The Montreal Anti-Illuminati Task Force. So let's get on with the show and get going.
All right. So this is me. This is who I am, in case people don't know. The guy that's talking and don't see much. It's Mario, right? The guy that they call Info Madman, because I give a lot of information and it's crazy what I give. But anyhow, let us go and commence. And stay with us. Don't go anywhere, and share this video once it's done, right? Very
Share. Yeah, exactly, for sure.
All right.
So
here she is.
And now
our blog.
The MnR is Mariolaur blogspot.ca, a beautiful blog right there, and we see. I love this picture. Sweet picture.
And you know what's the beauty of this blog, Rob? Or to anybody that's out there? It's everywhere. It's underneath the description of the shows. It's everywhere. It's pasted and posted everywhere. That's the beauty of this blog. You know?
Yeah, I know. I like this blog a lot. Yeah, it's great.
Me too. I could look at it all day long. Speaking of looking at it all day long, here it is. You just click on play. If you don't see this, refresh. And here's Chatango. And everybody that's on it, you're all welcome. We like having you on.
We love it. Yes.
And then on the side here in this blog, let us not forget that you have all our old shows. That's the beauty of it. It's all recorded there. And, you know, I love it. It's beautiful.
Exactly. And there we have our guest tonight coming on.
And here we got the popular pictures of the week, and these pictures are on the Conspiracy Talk, on Google Plus, and on Facebook.
Did you know the 18,600,000 vacant homes in the U.S.? That's enough for every homeless person to have 6. It's unreal.
Now, you know what bothers me about this? Now, people are saying, "Ah, but you guys live in Canada." It's the same thing. Try getting a house here in Canada. It's impossible. We can't have houses unless if you and I, Rob, we decide to go and live in boxes. But it's hard living in boxes when it's minus 40 out there with a cold wind.
And believe me, we may end up living in cardboard boxes if what we think is coming is supposed to be coming. But that's for the future, and hopefully we can alter our own future.
And you know what's the sad part? Well, I mean, speaking of boxes, we can go and get the boxes that, you know, where they they keep refrigerators and ovens, the big boxes. That's what I'm talking about, to live in. And you know what? With our luck, these big corporation, big companies, they're going to say no, no box for you. You're living in the street.
Oh yeah, because there's something I saw on Infowars earlier, and a guy, he put a cardboard box. He made like a castle with traps and everything for his kids to play in, like a nice cardboard box. And the very next day, they said they're gonna find him. But you have to take out by April 17th. You have to take out the cardboard box. You're not allowed having a cardboard box in the backyard, even if it's a toy for the kids to play. And if they don't, they're gonna arrest him. And if he would resist arrest, they would kill him. It's on Infowars, and I believe I did put in the conspiracy talk.
But Rob,
Anyhow,
another thing too about this, before we go to the next picture, this, you realize they're putting people on the street, and you know where those people on the street are going to wind up going? In FEMA camps.
yeah, exactly. So that's not such a good. It's not a hot thing. Not at all.
This. Let's analyze this picture. You see this? Money. Mon. Then it's mono. One. Then it has I in it. I. Money. One I. Money died. Corporation. Corporations. Then it's one-eyed corporation. You see, it's all that. It's money.
And look who's up there. Who's up there? The Illuminati. And there's Ben Bernanke, the second guy. Not the guy smoking the cigar, but yeah, they're all smoking cigars, but the guy on the right-hand side.
And they're laughing at us, the people.
Exactly.
Next, next. The next picture. This is They Live. What a great movie.
I know.
See, this picture has no writing on it. This picture has no writing because you know what they say about pictures, right?
Yeah, it's worth 1,000 words.
Here we go. I mean, I love that movie. I seen it, I have it, and well, actually, I got rid of it because I don't have any more DVDs. Because they want to get rid of the DVDs. We're stepping inside the future. So
exactly.
That's it.
And I don't know about you, but all my DVDs, they're all messed up. Except the first one, the DVD player I'm talking about, lasted like 10 years. The rest, 2, 3, 4 years, especially the ones on the computers.
But anyhow, watch this movie. And whoever is out there, watch it. You can probably get it for free. And I think they pulled the movie out right away from the cinemas. It's with Roddy Piper, right?
Yes, the wrestler.
All right. So we've on next. This picture you posted up, Rob.
Yeah, Illuminati card game from 1995 exposed, and we can see all of it there. Except I have a Illuminati card game. I don't know. I think I showed it on a long time ago, maybe 2 years ago. The Illuminati card game I have here. But you can see everything that's going on.
And it's very precise, right?
Indeed, it is.
Sweep on next. Monsanto. How could this show go without Monsanto?
The nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. Franklin Roosevelt, Monsanto. And yeah, exactly. And Roundup, that's very bad. Yes, I do know about Roundup. I've heard of it many times, even 25 years ago. I can't get into details now because we have a show to do, but it's very, very bad chemicals, Roundup.
So we got to stop these guys. They're our enemy. Sweep on next.
Instead of repaying my student loan, I'm returning my diploma. It didn't work. College bursar. Yeah, that's funny, isn't it?
If only if we could return our diplomas and get our money back. From an education, what are they teaching in school? Half of it is all bull crap anyways, except for math. Math is the only one thing that I learned that is true because math is the language of the universe. Huh?
It is. And speaking of universe, tonight we're gonna have a physicist talking about it, so it's gonna be wonderful. No, you're Pope. Oh boy, and I don't even want to read what it says in there, but it's pretty despicable what he says.
Yeah, we let people pause the video and you could read it and look into it. I mean, anything from the Pope, it's never anything good, right?
No, especially what he just said there, it's not good at all.
So we've on next. Speaking of, now this I love, Rob. The NSA. Your
Did not
favorite,
stop the
right?
Boston bombing. Did not stop the Navy Yard shooting. Remind me one more time, why are we being spied on? Exactly. They can't get the real terrorists, but yet they could get us. But then they do all these false flags.
Why are we being spied on? It's
False
because
flags. Have you noticed that they're starting up again a bit, not so much, but a little with the Ebola again?
not that again.
Yeah, in Toronto they had one, but it wasn't. And in the States, I don't know what happened to it. I didn't bother checking. Next, human evolution. We did not come from monkeys. Some people are educated far past their intelligence.
But you
That's
know what I say, Rob? You know what I say to people that say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we came from monkeys. We came from monkeys." I said, "You come from monkeys. I do not come from monkeys," and it shuts them up right away, and they just walk away. Maybe that's why they hate me, because I tell them straight out what I feel and what I think. Speaking of feeling and how we think, this is for you, Rob. This one.
not this guy. Owns 500,000 shares of Monsanto, the most evil company in the world. Claims he wants to make the world a better place. That he messes my computers up all the time. That I have to use an alternative to Windows. I mean Windows, yeah. You know, Windows and Windows and Microsoft. That's all he does, and now he's there smiling, giving us his cheap-ass computers that work half the time, don't even work, and you have to put so much security, and you still get viruses. Now get the heck out of my face, Mr. Eugenics Gates. The person who takes medicine must recover twice, once from the disease and once from the medicine. At least if you could recover from the disease, but then you have to worry about the medicine.
Yeah, because they're giving you garbage. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Not something you really...
This one,
Chemtrail.
another picture that's worth a million words. Because you know what? Nobody is doing what we do on this show.
The zombies on the phone.
Yeah, they're not looking up in the sky.
They're looking at their screens.
Look on the sky. Always look in the sky. All right, next, we've all.
My family is under attack by Satan. I'm scared for my daughter Millie. Entering this industry, you are on the highway to darkness. I think we are right now. No doubt about it. There has always been a battle between good and evil. Billy Ray Cyrus is ever Millie Cyrus ever on that path.
Yeah, I never like. I don't even know what hell she sings. You know that? I don't listen to Top 40.
They think something on a wrecking ball.
I don't know. I don't listen to this stuff. I rather listen to real stuff, 80s music, 80s metal.
Yeah, me
right?
too. That's right. Even any 80s, for that point. It's not a recession. It's robbery. It is. It's highway robbery. That's what it is.
Monopoly guy, eh?
Yeah, the monopoly man. Cannabis is becoming increasingly understood that it is very interesting and versatile. Medicine with much less toxicity than some of the pharmaceutical products it replaces. Yeah, it's true, eh? More and more evidence points to that.
But like drugs is like everything else. Don't overabuse it and you'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. If you get hooked to it. Not something you want to get hooked. The Pope is not simply the representative of Jesus Christ. On the contrary, he is Jesus Christ himself under the veil of the flesh, Pope Pius. But how could he be? If I go see him, he's not going to perform a miracle, will he?
No, Rob, it's all bull.
He won't heal me or heal you or heal any of our friends that have any kinds of problems, will he?
He's just after one thing, your money, and that's it.
Because if he could, you know what I would do? All our friends that we know, I'd pay for them, and I don't know, somehow I'd send it to him. We'd all go together and we'd all get healed.
But you know what, Rob? I got a step better than this. I just pray to Jesus Christ, and he answers all my prayers and gives me all what I want, my health, and that's it.
But he doesn't. Yeah, I'm talking about my friends, that the people we know that I don't know if they believe in him or what, you know.
Yeah, you could always pray for them. Hopefully they'll get better.
What they have, my gosh, only he can fix it in an instant. I'd have to start praying for them harder.
Definitely.
Next one, right there. Illusion of choice. There are 1,500 newspapers, 1,100 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,005 TV stations, 2,004 publishers owned by 6 corporations and 272 executives, they control 90% of what 277 million Americans see, hear, and read. Wow. Yeah, that's true.
But you know the beauty of this, Rob? Us here at the MnRTV live show, we're not part of all the statistics because we're not mainstream and we don't want to control people's reasons.
No, we don't. We certainly don't. And right here we have, if you think dealing with the U.S. police is bad, imagine how much worse it would be to be occupied by the U.S. Army. Yeah, the world police, or I should say the NWO cronies.
Yeah, they are, and well, actually,
they don't even know about it.
Actually, they're going to countries and bullying people around, you know, other countries, and they're saying it's for one reason, but there's another reason why they're there. But we've spoken about this in our past shows. You can watch our past shows, and we talked about this, why they're there. Gaddafi was, you know, we spoke about Gaddafi, why they put him down. But anyhow, that's a whole show on its own. We'll have to retouch it again some other time. Next, now Suivant. Next, now this is controversial, Rob.
Monando celebrando el fin de la depresión, 1932. The end of the depression, 1932. I mean, all I see is pyramids. I see a Nazi sign. I see the all-seeing eye. I see like a upside-down triangle. I see the Star of David. No.
Wait. We see the all-seeing eye over a poppy, because that's where the war was, right? You know, the poppy. Then there's a swastika, whatever you say it, over the Star of David. And this, if you look on it, it's Stuart Warner. And it says there, stop crying, start buying. You see the little core, the little...
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it at the bottom. Barely, but I see it, yes.
And this has been getting a lot of controversy, and I've been getting a lot of people to speak about it. It's like, what did they know back in 1932, you know? If this is true, this unveils a lot of things, That's my point with this.
And when the next global depression is going to happen, it's going to be 10 times worse than this. It's going to make this look like a picnic.
No, but the thing is will they make another coin that says this? I mean, I think this is a token or something, because there's no value to it, but still, well, what were they talking about?
And even, yeah, exactly.
So that's all found on this blog. Suivant next, the conspiracy talk.
On Facebook. Fastest growing conspiracy web group on Facebook today, and we had just 21 new members just recently, and that's great to have. And though I post the blog of our show, and then later on when the show's recorded, I do post up the video on it so people can watch or rewatch and share it, folks. Share this video once it's up, this show tonight.
And don't forget that all the links and everything will be at the bottom in the deep description, right?
Yes.
So that was the conspiracy talk. We also have it on Google Plus. No, try not to spam on it, people, because we don't like spammers. 0 to spammers, right?
Yeah, and or troublemakers.
And this is our Chitango, a lot of action. I love seeing this. This is what gets me going, to see this.
Okay, a lot of action going on. Yeah, exactly. Oh, for sure.
Let's cut right through it and go directly to the news.
From the news
now,
that's been happening. IntelliHub. Police state USA finally gains the attention of Congress. Bipartisan bill will kill Patriot Act. So they want to kill the Patriot Act.
Now the thing is, people are going to say, well, why do you guys up in Canada, what the hell do you care about what's going on here in the United States? Rob, why do we care?
Because, what's that saying?
When the
United States sneezes, we feel it or something, right?
We get the cold.
Yeah, that's it. We get the cold.
So
whatever happens there will happen here eventually. And as you know, I might as well say it now. In I know some people know in California there's a water ban. If you put too much water, because have water meters, smart water meters, and if you put too much water in your bath or in your shower, they'll come and give you a fine. So imagine being in your own home and you pay for the water and you can't. This is Big Brother. It switched in 1984, folks. 1984 is like a picnic compared to this. The bill will also give whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, who exposed the NSA's mass surveillance in 2013, additional protections under the law. Well, they certainly know who we are, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And they seem to leave every time we bring up the name, the Lord Jesus Christ. They don't like that, you know, because he's like their biggest enemy.
Or what they do, they try to tamper with the show. Yeah, so the Patriot Act was established after 2001 9/11 attacks, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's gonna come to a head, you know, and it just says here what to do. So all you Americans, you should look at this and fill it out and send it. I don't know if it'll help, but at least try and stop to repeal the U.S. Patriot Act.
Now, this is like very deep, I find, you know, but they have to do something.
We'd be doing it if we were Americans.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, the population of the Americans compared to us, just that we need to get people waking up, you know?
Yes, I agree.
That's what counts. That's very important, you know. People have to wake up, man. We have to get the masses talking. Wake up the masses. We're talking to the masses, right?
Yes, I agree. I agree because that's what we're here for. But we're here to wake up the masses everywhere. Okay, next one from Truth Day. Boycott, divest, sanctions corporations that feed on prisons. This sounds pretty interesting. What does it take to build a great and
enduring company?
Starbucks. Ah, yes, Starbucks. And what is this about exactly?
Well, I found it and I said, oh, this is something good.
About something about prisoners and mass incarceration is the most important civil rights issues of our day, and it's time for communities of faith to stand with poor people, most of color who are unfairly exploited and abused. We must halt the right violations against the poor that grow more pronounced each year.
Yeah, well, for sure, there's more poor than rich.
Well, yeah, and people look down on poor. You know, some people think that being poor is a disease or something. But when Jesus himself came down as a poor man, he could have come down as a rich king, couldn't he have?
No.
He could have.
But then they wouldn't have crucified him.
I know, but like he came down as a poor man. So people that laugh at people that don't have money, well, just think of what Jesus did.
And they want to get rid of us, the middle class.
Yeah, that's exactly what the NWO want to do.
Look at this, because they're exploiting prisoners.
All these companies.
Look at this.
All these companies, yeah, unreal. McDonald's, Microsoft, Motorola. Is my favorite company there? No, I don't see it. The big G, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and the big M. How come they're not there? But look what's here.
Yeah, big M's there.
No, the other big. Oh no.
There, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Come on. That means
Walmart's there. Victoria's Secret. Yeah. Glasgow.
Vandy's, look, Johnson & Johnson. All these companies are exploiting the people in prison.
Exactly. Not something.
See that?
Global charges prisoners and their fines $4.95 for a 15-minute phone call, which is about 2.5 times the national average for local inmate calling. Unreal.
Thing is are they going to start doing this also in FEMA camps? Well, we know that they're doing this in FEMA camps, or they want to do this in FEMA camps. Bring us there to enslave us and give us a little cheap wage.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, for sure.
That's pretty sad. You see, I had to show you that because if that's not going to get you, if that's not going to get you, you know what will get you? This will
What?
get you. Genetics.
Genetics. Eugenics, you mean? And you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, okay, genetics. It messes up on your genetics. It messes up the eugenics, or no, you know what I'm saying. Eugenics.
Could never come to America. It already has. Victims now being compensated in Virginia. Yeah. Okay. Are you able to go down?
Sure,
These
I
are
am.
the remaining victims of a covert sterilization program that took place in Virginia between the years of 1924 and 1979 have received compensation by the Commonwealth, according to news reports. The Virginia General Assembly sets aside $400,000 in its budget to compensate each living victim of the program, $25,000 as a symbolic reparation for the dark times in the state's history. A protocol of the Virginia Eugenical Sterilization Act. The sterilizations were performed on victims at a number of hospitals throughout the state in an attempt to prevent certain undesirables from reproducing. So now they want to see who can reproduce and who doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Genetics, eugenics, same
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Okay.
At
Good.
least,
Good. Good.
at least 65,000 Americans were sterilized by the government between 1924 and 1979.
So that means it's going to happen here. Good. Good. That's good news, eh?
Oh yeah, I love it.
It's really good news for all of us. I wonder if they would call us the undesirables. I think they would, eh?
Who knows what they will call us?
Exactly.
They're probably saying these ball busters, because that's what they probably consider us as.
If only it would be that. Ah,
Tennis
yes.
balls.
I like this. Iceland to take power, to create money away from Rothschild cartel. So is there going to be a false flag in Iceland for something to happen later on?
Well, yeah, but Rob, this is what I was saying about the United States policing. This is why they're policing. It's the name right. The name is right there, and they're going to go and police in Iceland, also.
Yeah. Who knew that the revolution would start those radical Icelanders? It does, though. One Frosty Signor Johnson, a lawmaker from the ruling protest party, issued a report today that suggests taking the power to create money away from commercial banks and hand it to the central bank and ultimately the parliament. Can't see commercial banks in the Western world would be too happy with this. They must be contemplating wiping the island nation off the map. If accepted in the Iceland Parliament, the plan would change the game in a very radical way. It would be successful too, because there is no way to score for our economy than commercial banks creating money and then securitizing and selling off the loans. They just created the money with. So remember, folks, keep your eye out on Iceland
Iceland.
and see what happens. Hopefully nothing will happen, but it just makes you wonder what may happen in Iceland.
And goes back to what I was saying about United States and Canada and this and that. We're all owned by the Rothschilds, right?
Yes.
So we're not really free. We're not the land of the free. Nobody is free. There's no such thing as freedom. We've all been lied to.
Exactly.
And
Which lies, one of the biggest perpetrated lies. 9/11. All right. Pentagon upgrades. Bigger bunker busters bomb in case Iran talks fail. Do they expect something to happen?
yeah,
And they'll blame it on Iran. The pentagram. Yeah, it is a pentagram anyhow. The Pentagon has upgraded and tested the largest nuclear buster bomb in the U.S., powerful enough to disable Iran's most heavily fortified nuclear facilities in case of failure to reach a nuclear deal, a senior U.S. official told the Wall Street Journal. The Pentagon continues to be focused on being able to provide military options for Iran if needed. I don't know, man. I said something here. Something's not quite right.
No, you know what's not right, Rob. What we read just before of Iceland, well, that's what they're doing to Iran. You know,
Yeah,
the pieces are all there. People just have to watch and know.
exactly. They'll have to keep their eye out and see what happens.
There they are. Look, the two countries, Iran or in
North Korea. Exactly.
the two countries that are hated because they're rebelling and they're saying no to
The U.S. And,
the
well, more than
Rothschild.
the Rothschild family banking dynasty, the head of the Illuminati family, the Rothschild. I could go on talking about them, but we have other stuff to talk about, which is equally as important as the Fukushima, the world's radiation nightmare.
Now, this is what makes us different than all other mainstream media. Mainstream media will not cover this and will not want you to know about this, but it's out there and it's still going.
It sure is. I mean, nothing's been solved with this problem. Fukushima's Japan and the world's radiation nightmare that will not go away in our lifetime, nor our children's or grandchildren's. The Fukushima nuclear power plant is hemorrhaging radioactive toxic waste into the ocean, and though we are told not to panic, nor even to be casually concerned, the situation is dangerous and critical for future life on Earth. Ever since March 11, 2011, the damaged plant has been leaking tremendous amounts of radiation. Now, TEPCO, the operator of the damaged facility, says they have recorded spikes between 50 to 70 times above average reading in the gutters that pour water into a nearby bay.
No, this is like, I mean, this has to get people waking up, you know?
But it doesn't.
Like,
Until there's some kind of disaster, everybody's going to be talking about it, and they want to do protests or whatever. You know how it is. People don't care that much in the news.
no, but the problem is nobody is talking about it
People
on
just
the
live with it. They
news.
don't think of equal.
It's not on the
No.
news, Rob. I always watch the news in French too, and I never see it. They never talk
I
about
know,
it.
and I
So,
said it in papers either. Ah, yes, Crisco. We better go to break now because our guest is coming on, Cynthia Sue Larson.
yes, yes, yes. Good idea. I had so many other things to talk about, but
But unfortunately, maybe they didn't want us to talk about it. But we're going to be talking about the multiverse,
all
the
right,
universe, universes.
all
So
right. So
don't go
here's
anywhere, folks. We're
Trish.
going to be right back.
All right, so here's Trish.
Question: what is the multiverse theory? Answer: in summary, the multiverse theory was invented to explain away the clear evidence of design in the universe, along with the fact that the universe is finely tuned to support life, the anthropic principle. The multiverse theory essentially states that there are multitudes of universes, each formed entirely randomly, with our universe being the only one, or one of a few, that randomly developed in such a way that it supports life. According to the multiverse theory, the appearance of intelligent design in our universe is the result of the pieces coming together just right, with no guidance oversight from any being. Rather, our universe being finite for life is simply a matter of chance. With millions or billions of universes, it was bound to happen. The multiverse theory is based on the supposition that what we have to this point considered to be the universe is but a small component of a vast, possibly infinite, assemblage of universes. The multiverse principle is an attempt to evade evidence for the apparent finituning of cosmic laws, values and constants such that the universe would be conducive to biohabitability. The core thesis of the multiverse concept attempts to expand one as probabilistic resources beyond that which is available in the observable universe such that the likelihood of attaining a single biohabitable universe by chance is rendered more plausible. There are several fundamental problems with this proposition, the key problem being that it is both unnecessary and ad hoc. There is no good scientific reason to think that we reside in one universe within a multitude of parallel universes. There is also no reason to think that there should be a mechanism for generating such universes, each with its own fundamental constants and values. The proposition thus only succeeds in throwing the paradox back one step, as one could then easily ask who built the generator to give rise to this cosmic lottery. A second difficulty with this hypothesis is that a universe which is in a state of continuous expansion cannot be eternal. It stands to reason, therefore, that it is possible only a finite number of universes could have been generated, and there is no guarantee that a finely tuned biohabitable universe would have emerged. In conclusion, in the absence of independent philosophical and/or scientific evidence for the existence of a universe-seen symbol, the concept remains nothing more than radical metaphysical conjecture. The exquisite fine-tuning of the contingent laws and constants of the universe for the emergence of complex life remains best explained by an intelligent being outside of space and time. The popular worldview has, for decades, been that the universe did not have us in mind, that we exist as an infinite cosmic speck within a vast cosmic arena. In recent years, however, new insights have turned this paradigm on its head. Now we see evidence that life was planned, that it was intended. Psalm 19.
Well, all right. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you very much, Trish. We couldn't do it without you.
Exactly, especially tonight. I don't know. Sometimes when I do these MnRTV shows, I sometimes have to hold my breath, you know. But our guest is ready to come on, and I'm going to be contacting her and see and pray and cross your fingers that this works, right?
Yes, because it's always a risk that we take whenever we do this.
Exactly. All right, let's start. Cynthia.
Hello, Robert.
Yes, how are you?
Wonderful.
Welcome to the MnRTV live show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on it.
Oh, wonderful. So, can you? I don't know why I'm hearing a little feedback over here.
Maybe I should turn my volume down. Is that better?
Let me see now. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I would believe so. I still hear it a bit. It might be on my end because I was having problems before. There's always problems with these shows, eh?
Yes, technology is challenging.
Exactly. So, welcome to the MnRTV live show, and we'll be talking about multi-universes, parallel universes, and everything in between. So, would you care to tell us about yourself a bit?
Yes, I am fascinated with the subject of parallel universes, the multiverse, because I've been personally experiencing what I call reality shifts and quantum jumps for the last 20 years, and I've been seriously researching the phenomena for the last 16 years. I have a degree in physics from UC Berkeley, and I regularly meet with physicists and researchers in the fields of neurology and also cognitive psychology, philosophy, to move toward finding a new understanding of quantum logic and the quantum paradigm. And these are subjects I write about on my blog, and I've got a YouTube channel. I've written several books that are bestsellers, and I've been interviewed on BBC and also the History Channel, and recently Deepak Chopra, One World with Deepak Chopra.
And also Coast to Coast, I believe.
Oh yes, Coast to Coast too, exactly.
Okay, so this is a topic that fascinates many of our viewers. What is a multiverse? What are parallel universes for our viewers out there?
Okay, well, basically, the idea of the multiverse is, I guess the best way to take a look at it, and you might wonder, why am I so convinced that we're in one? But we need to back up a little bit and get a better understanding of where the concept came from. And it really came from the world of quantum physics, which has seriously shaken up our understanding and assumptions of actually the scientific method, if you want to be honest, but also many of our basic assumptions about the nature of reality. And so quantum physics has shown that reality is not entirely made of matter, as used to be presumed to be true, And in quantum physics, wholes cannot be reduced to smaller parts. Actions actually do take effect non-locally, which messes with the whole observer effect. I mean, the idea of science is that you can observe something and that you can conduct the same experiment twice and get similar results. That really doesn't work if you're using the actual knowledge that we've learned from quantum physics, because observers do influence events and actions do take place non-locally. So basically, when you start looking at quantum physics is where this whole idea of the multiverse comes from. And the person that first used the word multiverse is an American psychologist, and it's kind of interesting that he coined the term multiverse 5 years before the word quantum came into its current use. But this idea by William James was that the multiverse is this idea of many possibilities. So he had that idea first, and then we've since the time of quantum physics and the discovery that quantum particles exist in sort of a whole bunch of interesting behaviors occur on the quantum realm that don't make sense with our classical view of the world. And so that's really where this whole multiverse theory came from. It's not just some fun thing of maybe there are many possible yous and many possible me's. That is a currently popular concept right now, but it's come to be popular based on research into quantum physics, which is showing us that everything can actually be in a superposition of states. So this idea of the multiverse is, there are different versions of it. The version that I'm currently considering as possibly true is a holographic multiverse model. Holographic meaning that there is a connection between all of the different possible universes that have something in common with your life right now. So they exist in a possibility field of all these possibilities being out there somewhere, imaginary, but possibly true. And then we can make choices based on every choice you make is actually helping you move, you being the consciousness, and then the movement being through like frames of a movie. That is how easily, I believe, you can jump through parallel universes.
So you studied physics, have you not?
Yes.
And you got a master's in it, if I'm correct.
I have a bachelor's in physics from UC Berkeley. I've got a master's in business administration.
Okay.
And I've been researching this particular field of consciousness since 1998. So quantum consciousness didn't used to be a field of study per se, although there have always been people such as George Weissman, featured in the book How the Hippies Saved Physics, and people like Fred Alan Wolf and Jack Sarfati, and a number of other individuals have been interested in much more than the mathematics of quantum physics. They wanted to know what's the logic of it. And there's a big push right now to find out what the logic of it is so that we can build quantum computers. And that's what's driving a lot of the research that's finally starting to happen in this field, because it's been static for a long time without much progress. But now, in the gold rush to build the first quantum computers on Earth, there's a lot of research being done to show how can you get quantum effects on the macroscopic scale.
One question I have for you is, how do we, how did all the multiverse begin? Like, was it just at the Big Bang?
Yeah, this is an open area for discussion, and some of the research that I'm most enamored with currently, that seems most impressive to me, is being done at the Perimeter Institute, and also, which I think is kind of close to you, and then here at UC Berkeley. And UC Berkeley, we've got a physicist here, Dr. Yasunori Nomura, and he's written some excellent papers on the static quantum multiverse, and also on the many worlds of quantum physics being one and the same as the multiverse. So I tended to, my current preference is that static quantum multiverse model. And what that means is there's a lot of talk about the Big Bang, and I think most people from watching TV shows about multiverses, they tend to think in terms of the infinity of space being physically infinite. And I would tend to agree instead with Dr. Yasunori Nomura, who has written papers theorizing that instead of the physical space being infinite, you actually get a mathematical double counting problem if you do it that way. Instead, he's proposing that the infinity is occurring instead in possibility or probability space. So the possible universes are out there. You could say we experience them as being consciousness. And the static part means rather than focusing on the Big Bang, and then you're always left with the chicken and egg problem of where did the Big Bang come from, instead of dealing with it that way, he's basically saying it's a static quantum multiverse, which means it's, in a sense, looking for the beginning is kind of a false question, that it's always been there. It's a very different philosophical point, and you may notice that what's missing here in the realm of quantum physics and also quantum cosmology is a kind of quantum logic, and you're right, it is missing. But the reason I like the Perimeter Institute is it seems like they're on the front line right now of working toward developing some logic in terms of how we can show that quantum physics is actually the real reality. And there's some physicists in there that have just written a paper on that this year. So that's why I'm quite impressed with what they're doing.
Wow, that's wonderful. So could it be that we're all living in a bubble universe?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly it. And if people don't know what you mean, that may be a new idea for some people. And the idea of the bubble universe is that a bubble can just burst into being just through thought itself. We can be bifurcating into new multiverses of possibility all around us. And that is exactly what I've been observing in the field of what you might call metaphysical phenomena for the last 20 years or so. And I've been observing it and wondering what the heck is going on. That's what drove me personally to seek an explanation. Because I've literally seen things appear, disappear, transport, and transform. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but in my most recent book, Quantum Jumps, I bring very typical, everyday situations that everybody can relate to. And if you start looking at those, then you recognize that probably we're all quantum jumping all the time. And what I mean is, I bring up the examples of the placebo effect, where that placebo effect where people can be given just a sugar pill or a saline injection of salt water, they can be found to experience a great deal less pain and experience a reduction in health problems. Also, placebo surgery works. And what's really remarkable is that there's been a doubling of this effect in the last 30 years. And even more interestingly, you can tell people they're in the placebo group and they still get better as long as you tell them that some people in the placebo group improve, which is true. So there's obviously something happening that indicates that the classical world we think of being so secure and so solid and so real. And what I mean by classical is just Newtonian physics and this idea that you can look at things and know their location and calculate equations that show the movements of the planets and the way gravity works, fields of electromagnetic radiation and so forth. And that's all pretty good as far as it goes. But now that, like I said, we're working toward developing quantum computers, and it's really necessary because we've hit the limit of what our classical computers are able to do. A lot of people don't know that, but we can't really make bigger computers that are smaller anymore until we go to the quantum computing model, and we're still working out the bugs on how to do that.
And what exactly are quantum computers, and how long will it take to be built? I would think it would take many years.
Well, some people say that we've got them already, and again, Canada is first. And the D-Wave 2 computer has been purchased by NASA, Ames, and Google for millions of dollars, and it's quite extraordinary because it's got what they call qubits, which are operating at they're supercooled fluid. So it's a superconducting quantum interference device is the qubit. And so in a regular classical computer, we've got bits and bytes. And a bit of information is just a 0 or a 1, and that's how the computer operates. It works with those little bits, and it performs calculations. And now with the SQUID, the superconducting quantum interference device, it's able to maintain both. You could think of it as the 0 and the 1 possibility at the same time. So it's simultaneously maintaining a magnetic up and a magnetic down state in the niobium chip that's, the SQUID component. And so I know that sounds a bit odd, but what happens with the quantum computers is, like these D-Wave 2 computers, they use adiabatic processing, and they're able to kind of work with the probabilities. And with a number of these qubits working together, now the trick becomes how to program this quantum computer, because like I said, we don't yet have the logic of what quantum theory is. I think they're developing it, and they're working toward it. I would have loved to have seen the quantum logic come first, and then develop the hardware and the software, but the logic work is happening concurrently. So what I mean by the logic is, how do you operate with a logic gate where you make a decision and then you can reverse the decision in time? Because in the quantum world, like we see in nature, nature is absolutely able to go backward in time. You can affect the past with a future decision.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Is time irrelevant? Like, is all time simultaneously? Like the past, present, and the future, does it all exist at the same time? Or is it like scripted by some higher force?
Well, I would again agree with Yasunori Nomura when he describes time as being a dimension, just like we have dimensions in space and in our universe. This particular universe that we're familiar with, we have dimensions of height, width, length, and time. And we tend to expect entropy. In other words, we expect a one-directional arrow of time, but that's kind of a random thing. And we could just as well be in a universe where we see effects going the other way. So that's kind of the boilerplate explanation of time. So it's not really happening all at once the way we observe it. In other words, if you throw a rock in a pond, you'll see ripples going away from where the rock landed in the water. But you don't see ripples going in circles coming together and then a rock flying out of the pond, running backward, unless you do a movie of it and play the movie backward. So, but in the quantum realm, the reason I'm bringing this whole thing up is quantum physics actually does involve some degree of retrocausality, some degree of results happening. You know, you absolutely can determine what's happening now based on a future decision. And so this is why we don't really have this quantum logic put together yet, because we're still getting our minds around what the heck does this mean, and how do you create this set of logic and this understanding of how everything operates when we're still trying to figure it out. To be perfectly blunt with you.
Are you familiar with the work of Brian Greene?
Yes.
Okay, I have his book, and I'm reading it, and I'm also reading Michio Kaku's book, Parallel Worlds, and I find these things really fascinating. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I love the way that they bring out those ideas, and when you read those books, they're a good introduction to the subject, so you can get an idea of what is this all about. You know, what does it feel like to even imagine that there could be many possible realities? And Michio Kaku is very good at describing, you know, that feeling, and Brian Greene is quite good at it too. So these are excellent books that I think anybody can read, even if you don't know much about physics. It's a great starting point, beautiful starting point. Those are really good. Whereas some of the papers I'm mentioning are a little technical, and that's why I'm not recommending the papers. But that's where my personal interest lies. I like to know what's going on right now, and you know, what's most current with the research that's happening, in order to get a better idea of how we can conceptualize the primacy of quantum physics in the natural world, which I believe to be the case. And that's what I love about current research this year at the Perimeter Institute.
Are there copies of us in other universes? Is this possible? Or is this something of science fiction? Because they say that there's so many infinite universes that there's somewhere bound to be a copy of us when there's no more particles in the universe left. Something like that.
Yeah, that's right, and that's one way to look at it. The theory that I'm fond of right now is one which posits that those copies of ourselves are in the field. They're basically in an imaginal realm, if you will, a field of imagination, a field of possibility, which actually is extremely real. And then what happens is that we experience just one of those realities typically, although I would tell you for sure you can experience alternate histories, which explains things like spontaneous remission of disease, the placebo effect, and sometimes if you talk to someone, they actually, you might get in an argument with your sibling or your parents about something that happened when you were a child, and they remember it completely differently than you do. And that's something that you can expect when you're moving through this multiverse of many possible realities. You know, because your consciousness might have a different memory, and if consciousness is who you really are, then what you're experiencing is, you know, just, it can sometimes be similar memories to other people and sometimes quite different. And you may want, yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've written about this too. It's sometimes you might notice a celebrity passes away, like Nelson Mandela, or some other celebrity, and then you think to yourself, that's odd because I remember hearing that they died already. How could they have been alive again? And so that's what I mean by an alternate history. And it is predicted that you'd experience these sorts of things if there is a multiverse. So that's a personal way that you can check out the idea yourself. Now that's not the same as testing it out and proving it within a scientific method, but it's something you can do. And that's the reason that I love this theory. It's because I've actually noticed a lot of these discrepancies, both with my own memories, just noticing Nelson Mandela. I've now noticed he's died twice. Once, I think back in the 70s or 80s, it was a long time ago. And then just recently, just a couple years ago. So that's kind of unusual. And he's not the only one. And when I've done surveys, about 30% of the population has noticed that some people are alive again.
Are we able to go beyond our bubble and go into another universe?
Yes. And what I'm saying is I believe we're doing it pretty much with every decision we make, and a lot more often than we realize, especially if you get into an energized, relaxed state of mind, such as if you're just singing a song on the radio and you're driving your car. You know, a lot of people have been writing to me for the last 16 years, reporting stories of having traveled a lot farther than should have been possible in a much shorter period of time. In other words, they're basically teleporting. You know, it's like you're in one universe 1 minute and you're just singing a happy song, and then suddenly, somehow, you've driven what should have taken you like 5 or 6 hours, but you've done that in 2 hours, and you weren't speeding at all.
I've heard something that you can go in another universe and get married to someone who over here doesn't want you, and you could go there and marry them. I know this might sound a bit odd, but yes, I've had people tell me this. Do you know exactly what I'm talking about, or are you saying this guy's crazy?
Well, it doesn't, you know, in this area, I don't think anything can sound crazy. I mean, the whole topic may sound a little bit out there, but yes. I would say pretty much anything is possible. So what it really requires for most people, and the problem a lot of people have when they write to me and they want to change the past, usually because a very dear loved one has passed away or they made a terrible mistake and they want to go back in time and change it. I get a lot of emails like those two things. And the problem for most people is you actually need to be in a detached state of mind, which means it's not quite the same as not caring, but it's definitely being in a state of peacefulness. So you're at peace with yourself and everything. It's a state of acceptance, a state of surrender, and also very focused mindfulness. and very highly energized. So most people are not that focused with their minds, and they're not that energized. But you can start improving both of those things by meditating and by breathing to your lower abdomen, which helps energize you, and it changes your physiological fight or flight reflex. It moves you into a deeper state of calm, integrated awareness. So it's these are things you can start doing now. So those things, I'd say, yes, it's possible. You could marry someone that wouldn't want you in this reality. How likely is it to really experience it? I think it depends on those qualities, getting to that detached state of mind. So no matter what happens, you're okay with it. And then really working on focusing your breathing and, raising your energy level. It's called ki. If you practice yoga or martial arts, or if you go see, someone that works with acupuncture or acupressure. So they're working with your body energy inside of you. And you can tell if you've got good energy when you wake up, if you just feel tired right from the start, or if you feel ready to take on the day.
That's good energy.
Yes, it's very good energy.
Great, great. So how long would it take for me, let's say, to jump into another universe? Would I be in another universe? Would I be missing from here? Because our viewers are wondering if, they may be wondering how this is done.
Right, you're not missing from here. So the way that it feels to me, based on many, many experiences in my personal life, is that pretty much any time you experience a sudden change, an instantaneous transformation of any kind, it could be your mood, it could be you go from or you could be sick 1 minute and suddenly you realize, I can't be sick today, I have to be well, and then you're suddenly better. We actually do experience these things rather often, especially if your energy is quite high and you're very relaxed and you're in that accepting state of mind. So, and these are the kind of examples I write about on my website and newsletter. So in other words, those versions of you exist as possibility. It's your consciousness that's actually choosing them. And that's the hard thing to get your mind around, I know. It's like to recognize that you are the awareness. You're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You're not even your emotions. You are the consciousness that's awareness, that's observing all of that. And this is why you really have all those possible yous that are out there in the field of possibility, but they don't really become physically manifest until you embody them by moving through them. And each embodiment is pretty much like a frame of movie reel. If you go to the movies and you see that they've got a projector up high with it's behind the window, and before the movie starts, you might notice that they're kind of putting the movie onto the reels. And if you were to go up into that booth and take a look at the film, you'd see that each frame of the movie, frame by frame by frame, is discontinuous. But when you shine the light through it and project it, it looks very smooth. And it seems like it's all one continuous thing. What I'm saying is that we are jumping through these different possible universes pretty much all the time, much more than we realize. And when you make this into a conscious practice, that's when you can start experiencing that you can instantly become happier, smarter, stronger, more confident, more prosperous, with better relationships, all those things.
So there's copies of all of us.
Yes.
So
just like that field of possibility that's out there.
Wait. So how do I know if I'm the real me? Maybe the copy of me in another universe thinks he's really the real me. So, or is it just in a sense that we're all one, like each copy?
There you go. That's what I have been. That's my preference of what I tend to think right now is that we're all one, and that you don't need to worry about, what if there's an evil version of me, or, what if I make a choice and one of me died, or don't worry about all that. Those are just possible yous. And to me, it seems like there's a lot of evidence to suggest that our universe itself is quite conscious. You can see this in the sheer unlikelihood of our universe being the way it is right now. If you look at the constants that are required for life to exist, for our Earth to exist, it's just astronomically unlikely that the laws of physics are the way they are. And now that the quest for the Higgs boson is on again, the Large Hadron Collider is getting fired up again this year.
Yes.
And yeah, and what they're doing is they're actually trying to confirm that the calculations and the numbers they got for the Higgs boson are correct, and also to continue some of the particle physics experiments they're working on. But anyway, I know some people are worried about the Large Hadron Collider, and they get worried about things. But what I notice when looking at the unlikelihood of our Earth to begin with is that on some deep level, it seems clear to me that consciousness is running this whole show. That there's a deep level of awareness that is, it's very integrated at a very high level. And that kind of a oneness consciousness of all of us together is it's a very good thing. It understands to move in a direction that's generally helpful for everyone rather than destructive. So for me, it's a sort of a spiritual path to recognize that there's obviously an integrating level of awareness and consciousness that's bringing everything together.
What are your thoughts on black holes? What's at the end of a black hole?
That's a good question. And, you know, when I look at black holes, to me it seems like there's a possibility of understanding that could be a pathway through the multiverse, because especially if you're looking at wormholes, for example, you'll see, and those are called Einstein-Rosen bridges. That's a kind of entanglement that is happening between black holes. And so the classic wormhole would have like a black hole on one side and a black hole on the other with the wormhole connecting them. And now over at MIT, Julian Sonner is showing that you can actually show the creation of a pair of entangled quarks gives rise to a wormhole that connects the two of them. And the reason this is so exciting is it looks like there we have it. If you're looking for the mechanics of how can you jump from one reality to another, well, I still don't know how we move through wormholes. So, you know, if you're still fixated on it all has to be material reality, it could be a problem. So I tend toward the information theory of quantum physics right now, which is, I think, in the forefront with quantum logic, again, happening at Perimeter Institute right now. So that's pretty much the direction I'm leaning. But those black holes are like little doorways. Like you can go through one and come out the other side. And it doesn't, we often think in terms of black holes being a huge thing that's out there, but we're talking about something a little bit smaller when you get into these entangled quarks, for example. Then it starts getting to be something that could be happening all around us quite a bit of the time.
So, if we go from one black hole to another, I'd be in another universe physically, if that was possible.
Right. And what I'm saying is that now some research is happening that shows that these black holes are happening on the quantum scale. Quarks are very small. So there's this possibility now that these things can be happening all around us all the time.
All the time. Oh, so that's something that people would want to know more about it. Is there more and more evidence that there's more black holes?
Well, these are areas of conjecture right now, so this is what I like about tracking the new science that's coming out. So it's pretty cutting edge, and right now I'm not sure. You know, these are great questions, and there's a lot of work that could be done in the field of physics right now. So if people are listening, I would say this is one of the best times to get involved in physics, because there really is a lot going on, and it's not the case where everything has been figured out. Far from it.
Is it possible for the multiverse to how can I say it, to go into itself and sort of like a big crunch, and it's the end of everything?
Well, it is possible. That's one theory some people are proponents of. But it seems like from what I've seen that this expansion just seems to be continuing right now. So, you know, the work of Alan Guth
yes.
and so forth. Yeah, it looks like this expansionary process is what's happening. But again, it's hard to say. You know, there might be some some connection with the dark matter that has, you know, a different effect. Like it might just expand, and then start contracting again. But right now it looks like it's just expanding.
So our universe is expanding, and so is the multiverse, if I'm correct.
That's another good question, because you could ask, maybe there's some possible universe out there where it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you know, that story, the children's story.
Okay.
Where, you know, I don't know if you know the story, but it's a children's story where there's a little house with three bears in it, and the mother bear, father bear, and baby bear, and they all cook some breakfast in it's hot cereal porridge that they have in the morning. And the papa bear has a huge bowl of it, the mama bear has a middle-sized bowl, and the baby bear has a small bowl. And so, in other words, they cool at different rates. The bears go for a walk, and the little girl Goldilocks comes to the cottage, and she just sees these three bowls. Well, she finds three chairs and three bowls. And the chairs are different sizes, and the bowls are different sizes. Long story short, you know, she tries all of the chairs and the bowls. The big bowl and big chair is too big and too hot, and the mama-sized bear and the middle-sized isn't quite right. But the tiny one is just right for her. You know, she can sit in that chair, and it's just right, and she's able to eat the porridge and so forth. So what I'm saying is that it's possible that there are so many possible universes out there that we can actually choose through consciousness which ones we're selecting. It's starting to look that way to me, and there's no proof and there's no evidence of that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that, you know, that just like you can experience a placebo effect with your health in your body, if you're able to do that, then I don't see why we shouldn't also be able to experience pretty much any kind of multiverse that we'd like to experience. And I'm the only one saying that. I haven't seen a paper that says this. It's just my own speculation. In other words, what I'm saying is, I'm just saying, why not? Why not have any kind of universe you want? Instead of expanding so far that we never have stars anymore, at some point you might want to bring them back together again. And at that point of evolution, hopefully humans would be evolved enough not to perish in the time of a big crunch when everything comes back together. Because at that point, we would know we're pure consciousness. We can't be destroyed.
I don't know. How do I say this? UFOs, could they be from another universe? Because these flying saucers that we see, could it be some kind of teleportation type vehicle that brings them here?
Yeah, that's possible. It's entirely possible. And if there, you know, it seems like there's a lot of evidence to suggest that extraterrestrial beings are real. And just today there was an announcement that I think a very high-ranking NASA scientist expects we'll see physical evidence of ETs by 2025. That's just 10 years from now. And some people would say, hey, we've already got the evidence. You know, they're here. Okay. But, you know, I think what they're talking about is real physical evidence that you can, you know, indisputably point at and say, this is for real. So if you're looking for the means by which they could arrive here, then yes, I believe that, of course, if there are conscious beings out there that have evolved a little bit further than humans, then I would expect they would be pretty good at recognizing that they are consciousness, therefore having the ability to make crop circles and travel, you know, at great speeds, teleport. A lot of the things that we associate with ETs look to me like macroscopic scale quantum effects, actually. So it makes a lot of sense to me that that they are here, that they've been here for a long time. Time travel would be no big deal to them, just like space travel would also not be a problem.
So there's the universe, and then there's the multiverse. What is outside the multiverse, if that such thing exists?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's one of those chicken and the egg things again. So if you're saying what's before the Big Bang, what's, you know, after the Big Crunch, what's outside the multiverse, you know, it's probably, there's a saying about turtles all the way down, and so I mean, who knows? I think that's a poser for pretty much any scientist, because you can't really study something outside the system that you're in.
Because I've heard it. I've read that it's called the Omniverse. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but it's a good name for it.
But exactly. But who would create all of this? It would be God, wouldn't it be, that created the universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it?
Yes, this is where it gets into that realm of the perennial philosophies and wisdom traditions, spiritual teachings, and I think it's pretty interesting that if you do a study of consciousness and spirituality, you'll find in many cases there's a lot of agreement between the different world religions, wisdom traditions, and these perennial philosophies, that there is this concept of one mind. And Larry Dossey just wrote a wonderful book on that subject, One Mind, where he describes quite a bit of the background for this concept. And he's not the first one to document it, but I really like the way he put it together. So it seems like there's pretty good basis within the background of all of the ancient teachings. And the reason that's so interesting is because we have yogi masters, meditation masters, and this is the topic of Dr. Dean Radin's newest book, Super Normal, which I also highly recommend. And what he describes there is that in India, there have been, for thousands of years, yogi masters that have been practicing siddhis, which are basically, again, it looks a lot like mastering macroscopic quantum phenomena, you know, just in daily life, so that they can teleport, that they can bilocate. You know, a lot of the things that you see happening on the quantum scale, the people that are yogi masters are able to do, you know, in just with their own bodies, you know, with physical objects that you can actually see and observe. And I actually believe now that, like I keep coming back to the race for quantum computers, we're finding that nature was there first, and a lot of the things we want to be able to do in a computer with our hardware, with our inventions, trees, for example, are using quantum phenomena, quantum random walks, just to be so successful with photosynthesis. And, you know, flocks of birds are able to move together like one. So if you watch a flock of starlings, that's the starling birds, they move very much like a quantum fluid. So there's a lot going on in the natural world that shows that, you know, we've been in this, you know, very amazing, miraculous quantum reality, you know, all this time.
So how long has the multiverse existed? Is it 13.8 billion years, or are we just a universe from a mother universe?
And again, it's hard to answer that question because it's very difficult to go outside of what we're in. You know, some people notice that this, if you look at the star charts and you look at the way the universes are outlined, it looks very much like the neurons inside of a brain, actually, which is kind of amazing. And so that also seems to be evidence of this one mind. And Erwin Schrödinger, who's one of the early physicists that was working on quantum physics, he also noticed that there's obviously only one alternative, which is the unification of minds or consciousness. And he says that their multiplicity is only apparent, but in truth, there's only one mind. So, and you can see it. You kind of get that feeling when you look at the way that the galaxies and the universes are laid out. And if you know what I mean by looking inside of an MRI scan or something where you can see the neurons and the neural networks, it really looks like that, which is pretty amazing.
The thing that I get confused with is the way, like before the Big Bang there was emptiness, so something had to create the Big Bang. But what was before it? We don't know. And is there a way that I've read that some scientists are saying that they're studying like minutes, like maybe seconds before the Big Bang, like what happened at the Big Bang, and they're trying to see what happened before it.
Yes, yeah, there is a field of study going into that to see what's going on there. And there's such a thing as cosmic background radiation from that Big Bang.
Yes.
So some physicists have been looking to see if there's any evidence of alternate histories there as well. That was something Stephen Hawking worked on for a while with another physicist. And it's kind of like listening, looking for signs of, you know, can we see evidence that there was another kind of Big Bang also, in addition to the one that we originally saw. And some physicists say that they have seen such evidence just looking at that cosmic background radiation, that in fact, it looks like for sure you can see that there's something outside of our universe, which might indicate, evidence that that exists.
Will we ever be able to go physically into another universe? Or is it the only way is through a wormhole?
Well, what I'm saying is that we're moving through these alternate realities, these other parallel universes all the time, pretty much many times a day. We're just not consciously aware of it typically. But I think what you're asking is, will we have a little device where you can sort of walk from one reality into another, like you get in your car and you go to the grocery store? Will there be a sort of a teleportation device or something where now you instantly have a PhD or you're instantly a millionaire, that kind of thing? I don't know about that. What I'm aware of is that the natural system is already here, and I would say we're already moving between parallel universes.
So if there's infinites of me, do they all look like me, or could one day one of them wears a white shirt, the other one wears a black shirt, and there's an identical Earth, like over here, and there's different types of Earth with different types of maybe physics and anomalies that we don't have here?
Yeah, could be wearing different shirts. That's a great example, because I recently did I was doing a group session for a group of individuals in Thailand, and I heard that one person walked out of the room wearing one color shirt and walked back in wearing a different colored shirt, and she did not change her clothing. And that's a typical classic type of reality shift where the observers, therefore, are quite aware. And we were talking about reality shifts, quantum jumps, parallel universes. And so when you're open-minded to the experience and you start noticing, like, wow, it could really happen that easily. Someone could just leave the room, come back, and it's like they've changed their clothing, but there was nowhere for them to change, because they just literally, they walked into an office, and that's not a place you change your clothing. They come out, they're dressed differently, and you ask them about it, and they say they didn't change. Well, there you go. So,
if only there'd be a way to master it, to know exactly how that happened. That would be wonderful.
Yes, well, this is the subject that I write about with my books, Reality Shifts, When Consciousness Changes the Physical World, to show that you can experience this. And I have exercises to help you achieve that. And then my newer book, Quantum Jumps, An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and Prosperity, it's got lots of examples as well. But if people just want to read the stories and go to my realityshifters.com website, there's a lot of information there that I've been sharing for free with a free newsletter for the last 16 years. And, lots of tips and articles and research and information about this. Because it really is doable, and, it's absolutely a fun thing to start doing.
What happens after we die? And do we go to another universe? Do we go to a place called heaven, or we just simply cease to not exist?
Right. Well, we get some clues, I believe, just by noticing the way that we're moving between realities, and who we really are is not our body, because you can go from having a broken bone to a not broken bone. You can have cancer one minute, that can be gone the next day. So obviously you're not your body. So if you know for a fact, and you start becoming more and more clear on the fact that you are consciousness, you are awareness, then you can recognize that if you're able to move between these physical realities, it's not that difficult, not that much further of a jump to realize that you never actually cease to exist. So that awareness, that consciousness that you are, continues. And this is why so many people experience what feels like communication from loved ones that have passed on. Just amazing synchronicities. Sometimes I know a young man who got an email from his mother after she died, and he told me, like, look, I can't believe it. I got this email from my mom, and she died days earlier. And I said, that happens sometimes. So I think when you look at this kind of research that's been done by researchers like PMH Atwater, who covers the near-death experience, And I write about this a little bit in my book, Quantum Jumps, as well, that people who have experienced dying, but they get to the brink of death, they might even be declared legally dead, but then they're able to basically experience a quantum jump and come back, oftentimes overcoming insurmountable seeming odds. So they might have been sort of beyond saving by any means of Western medicine, yet people like Anita Moorjani or Dr. Eben Alexander are able to suddenly be completely well. And they do describe their experiences of near-death experience. And it seems from those first-hand reports that consciousness is the key. That's who we really are.
Are we able to meet our doppelgangers physically? Is that possible?
I think anything is possible, and I haven't heard too many reports of that. However, on occasion, I do get first-hand reports, and I myself also have experienced bilocating. In other words, being in two places pretty much at the same time, sometimes miles apart, sometimes just many feet apart, and that's kind of unusual. So obviously there's something going on where it's possible apparently to teleport or just be, in my case I was daydreaming on both occasions, and then people that I really trust, once my daughters said for sure that I'd come into their bedroom, opened their window shade, told them good morning, and then walked out of the room when I had never left my bed. And so they came running and asking, why are you still in bed? Another time I was doing a book event, an author event, in one city, daydreaming that I was in Berkeley, walking on just the beautiful day that it was, outdoors, and just strolling along the beautiful street. And a friend saw me there, and she emailed and said, I thought you were doing an author event that day. So I said, wow, I was daydreaming, and I wished I was, walking down that very street. So apparently we can bilocate like that. As far as meeting your own doppelganger, I know that Bert Goldman has his approach for quantum jumping, and apparently, the whole idea is that you meditate and you can meet the versions of yourself that might be the wealthy version, the healthy version, the rock star version, whatever it is. And so you can, through meditation, experience, these possibilities. I do believe that is true. So you can meet them that way, but I haven't yet heard of anybody telling me that they've met a doppelganger in real life.
Okay. But to become a rock star, let's say I want to become a rock star, am I able to go into another universe and just become a rock star? Or is that just like something, because I've heard people tell me that that's possible. So I really don't know.
Yeah, well, it's really easy to start instantly picking up all the knowledge that you supposedly have no way to possibly know. And I've done that many, many, many times, involving, picking up drumsticks and playing drums. I've never played drums before, but it just feeling suddenly, before that happened, like I know what to do, and my hands were just itching to pick up the drumsticks, and I felt like I already had the rhythm and everything. It was crazy. So you absolutely can do that. It's in terms of having all the skills and to the degree that you really have that desire, I think it's totally doable.
Okay, so I could become a millionaire if I really wanted to. It's just a question of how do you do it.
Right, and this is where it really gets interesting, because we are energy beings, and I talked about the key, that inner energy, and because we're energy beings, you might notice, and you can feel this if you just think about being a millionaire, you can feel how you feel about it in your heart, and you can feel what comes up in your gut. Notice if there's any clenching or tightness there, and you can feel how it feels in your head. And I'm asking you to feel how it feels, because what you're noticing when you're honest with yourself is your own internal issues and blocks about receiving that kind of prosperity right now. And you might think, what blocks? Why would I have any problem with it? But if you had no blocks, then probably you'd be a billionaire right now. So there's something going on, and you can usually feel it and get more sensitive to asking questions and moving into that. I've got a book on that very subject, High Energy Money, which is all about how to sense and find what those issues are. So it's just a small book, but it's just the same idea that you can actually improve your relationship with money, because usually that's the problem. That there could be a self-worth issue. Could be a number of things going on, but you move through them. And in that book, I described real-life experiences of people, including myself, that have just had money appear as if out of nowhere. So, you know, this sort of thing happens all the time, actually. And reading a book about it is wonderful, because then it opens your mind to the possibility that can happen. And that's the first step. You kind of want to get your foot in that door of possibility, and recognize that there are lots of ways that you can, in fact, become quite prosperous.
And which book is this, Quantum Jumps?
That one is called Reality Shifter's Guide to High Energy Money.
Okay.
And all these books, you can find them at realityshifters.com. That's my website. And they're on Amazon. And you can find them at Barnes & Noble. And most of them also have an audiobook version. That's true for High Energy Money, Reality Shifts, and Quantum Jumps.
Okay, and Quantum Jumps is about what? Going into a different universe?
That's about this. Yes, exactly. It's the new science of instantaneous transformation, living the life of your dreams, and becoming happy and prosperous with some dozens of scientifically proven, laboratory-tested, easy-to-do things that can absolutely increase your confidence. And these are, I mean, measurably proven things that are quite easy to do. And for that kind of thing, it would be the field of embodied cognition and psychology is showing us that you can increase your testosterone, which is the confidence kind of a hormone, and decrease cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and ways that you can do that. You could try it right now if you're not driving a car or something, if people are listening. And you can do it by taking an expansive pose. Just stretch your arms out to your sides. Another good one is if you can stand up, put your hands, the palms of your hands on a table or desk in front of you, and lean forward. So when you adopt one of these poses, you hold it for a few moments. And even if nobody else sees you doing it, other people will notice the change in your demeanor for as much as an hour or two afterward. So this is the kind of thing, you can do this in private and then go into a meeting, have a sales call, do a job interview, go to court, whatever it is you need to do where you need to make a good impression and be confident and not be worried or stressed out. So these power poses, this is the work of Amy Cuddy at Harvard University, they're quite powerful. The reason I include them in Quantum Jumps is because, to me, they're more evidence of acting as if, faking it till you make it, and just using that three-step process I describe in Quantum Jumps to become relaxed and energized, recognize this field of possibility out there, and then make that choice of where you're going with it and act as if you're already there. So those are the 3 steps, and that's a very beautiful, simple example. So I've got dozens of these things that are just so easy to do, and you can instantly, even if you have question about a lot of the things I'm saying and maybe you don't believe the principles, the techniques are absolutely proven.
And this in the book Quantum Jumps.
That's right.
And there's exercises in there on how to go into another universe.
Yes. Okay. I've got exercises at the end of each chapter on how to do that, yes.
Okay. And this is available at Amazon. Does it also have an audiobook for this?
It does, yes. There's the audiobook version, which I believe is on iTunes as well as Amazon.com.
Okay.
And a lot of people like those audiobooks. I think on Amazon now they've also got WhisperNet, so you can get the Kindle book as well as get audio for just a small amount more. And so once you get tired of reading, you can have the book read itself to you.
Yeah, because sometimes complicated stuff, it's better, like if you, not complicated, but stuff that you want to do exercises, sometimes it's easier to be told how to do it than actually reading it for certain individuals.
Exactly, yes. And sometimes with physics, it helps me to close my eyes to picture the ideas. And then you can open your eyes and look at the ebook, look at the illustrations, and close your eyes again. I think it's great.
It does sound great. So in closing, is there anything you would like to tell my audience and about parallel universes, the multiverse, anything along that line?
Well, the main thing I'd like to ask everybody to do is just keep a very positive framework of your mind. So your beliefs are a big thing, and most people don't change their beliefs that quickly, but you can start asking questions that change the direction of your whole life in an onward and upward positive trajectory. And questions like my favorite question, which is, how good can it get, can help you to start using the power of imagination, which might even take you places beyond anything you've yet experienced, to help you make that journey of discovery of just how good your life can get.
All right, so I want to thank you very much for coming on our show. Cynthia, it's been wonderful, and it was an honor having you, and I hope you do want to come back on our show at some time in the future.
I'd love to. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So once the video's up, I'll send you a link to the show, and you can I'll share it everywhere so we can get the word out on your books.
Thank you. And hope you have a wonderful month and a great week.
Thank you very much. Okay, so take care for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was a great show, wasn't it, Mario?
Yes, very great show. I'm glad we've done it, and I'm glad people liked it, and I'm glad we done it.
Oh yeah, it was a wonderful show, and I'm gonna have a lot of research to do because I want to know more about parallel universes, multiverse, and how you can jump into it. It's gonna be wonderful, and that's all I've got to say about that. And she was wonderful, and I hope all of you enjoyed the show. And hopefully next week we'll be back with another show, God willing.
Yes, that's it. We're out of here. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.